Hey, Julia Barzyk here from Wise Investigator. Happy New Year. We've made it through 2025. We're entering into 2026. I hope you'll join me for a few minutes here while I give you some of my thoughts about what we can expect in 2026, especially really my thoughts on what you as a PI want to be doing and thinking about and approaching this year of 2026 as related to getting your research funded. So let's get into it. Okay, so my premise here is that information is now a commodity. Well, what do I mean by a commodity? I mean something that it doesn't really matter where it comes from. The most obvious example of this perhaps would be gasoline for your car. So if you're running low on gas, you need to fill up at a gas station, and it doesn't really matter what brand gas station you go to, right? What is something that is not a commodity? Well, in your career, that could be something like a letter of reference, a recommendation letter. That's going to be written, customized just to you. You can't replace that letter with a letter from another person or a generic letter. Another example would be the setup of your lab. You have a specific setup there, perhaps home-built instruments, and you can't just move somebody else's lab equipment into your lab. So a commodity is something that, again, you can get from many different sources and doesn't really matter where you get it. Now, I would argue that in 2026, even in 2025, but it is undeniable that for the most part, information is a commodity. So what is scarce is not the information. It's very easy to get information relative to how easy it's been in the past. But there are still things that you need. And what you need is context surrounding that information. You need to perform execution on the information that you acquire in terms of the decisions that it leads you towards. And you need time to make those executions and implement the actions you're taking based on the information. So there's still a lot of stuff that you need to do, and some of it is pretty complex, actually. But the information itself is generally not the thing that is keeping people stuck, right? Lack of information. So why does this matter? Well, as I implied, with AI and the internet, we can get instant answers to almost anything. Now, if you're asking AI about rules for a grant application, of course, you want to confirm that information, and we've all seen it come up with information that's not correct. But you can get a first stab of information. You can often get information that's at least partially correct, and that's a starting point, even if it's a link that takes you to the accurate source of information. So it's not foolproof, but we can get very, very rapid answers to many, many questions, including related to research funding. So people are not stuck in their research funding careers because they don't know things. They're stuck because they are having problems turning that information into actions and decisions, right? The decisions and then the actions. And that's understandable because, again, there's a lot of dynamism here. There's a lot of complexity. So by saying, oh, the information is all there, I am by no means saying that you have everything that you need to be successful. And further, the more information that we gather, this can often lead to more overwhelm and not progress at all, right? When we're just dumped on with information and information, it can make us feel like, well, I have everything I need, and now I just need to implement it. Well, the just need to implement it is actually the big part. That's my argument here. So more information is not always better. It can lead to confusion, it can lead to overwhelm, and it can stall your progress. So what I'm leading to here is that the success that you're looking for related to research funding, this absolutely requires more than just knowing things, right? If knowing things were enough, then everyone would be successful because you all do know a lot related to research funding. But what you do need to do is be positioning your work correctly. You need to understand the funder behavior, the signals that they're going to be sending this year. And you need to be working on your relationship building so that can support the most optimal timing of the actions that you're going to take. When you send white papers, when you make inquiries, when you get your proposal completed and submitted. So if you are only reacting to postings of funding opportunities, you're always going to be behind, because you're basically just, in that case, a passive consumer of information. And that's the same information that everybody else has access to if they read those postings. And this doesn't mean that you shouldn't read the postings. You shouldn't put important deadlines on your calendar. You do want to do that, but you don't want to get bogged down with them. And you want to make sure you're taking a lot of other actions that are supporting the information that you're getting from these postings. So let's think a bit about why old models of proposal development and professional development as related to research funding, in my opinion, and it's my professional opinion, is that they don't fit any longer. I don't think they were fitting in 2025, and I'm certain that they do not fit in 2026. So what I'm going to talk about here, it's in no way meant to imply that these are bad approaches. They have been effective in the past, but I will assert that they are absolutely mismatched to the bandwidth that you all have today and into 2026. I do not believe that these are going to support you fully in the way that you need if you want to have really radically improved results with your research funding. What is this? This would be things like hourly coaching without a deep context into your specific situation, right? If you get on with somebody who's going to help you, but they're available to you just for an hour or just for 2 hours or a couple meetings, and they don't have any context around what you've already done, what you've already tried, what your goals are, it's going to be limited in that amount of time. It doesn't mean you're not going to get something valuable from that time, but it's not enough. Similarly, proposal feedback, that would be like a one-off. So you've gone through the whole process of drafting a proposal, you give that to, for example, a consultant, and they make some comments on that. Most likely their comments are going to be pretty useful and helpful. They're going to be good comments in the sense that this person knows what they're talking about. They're going to be able to point out strengths and weaknesses and areas that you might want to consider revising. So all of that is great. But what if this is a proposal that you shouldn't have even really been writing in the first place? If there is no support on that front end, then you could be wasting your time, because if there's no budget for that program or that proposal, and if it's maybe not even going to be sent out for review, then what's the point in doing all of this deep work on the text of the proposal if no one is really going to be giving it serious consideration? Another thing here, this is the old model, are talks and webinars where you have a lot of content, frankly, dumped on you, and you are left with the now what, right? When you're leaving that webinar, which you may already be doing other work while you're watching the webinar. If you're in an in-person event, you're rushing off to teach a class or for another commitment immediately after. So while you may be in that event thinking, oh, this is good information, yeah, I see how I could implement some of this here. Once you're away from that, it's very easy for all of that to just be forgotten, frankly, or just too much time passes and you haven't acted on it, and then it's kind of like old news at that point. So what I'm getting at here, of course, and this is not a surprise to you, is that time is the limiting resource here, right? You don't have time to do all of the things that you could be doing. So you must be very strategic in how you spend your time. So what does this mean for our business, Wise Investigator? What are we going to be doing in 2026 that's different than what we've been doing in 2025? Slightly, it's really building on things that we've already been doing. So I'm not going to say it's that different, but we're leaning into some approaches that we've already been taking. And I think this is going to be informative in terms of what I suggest you should be thinking about in how you get your support, your training, and approach your research funding goals for this year ahead. And I will leave you with a specific suggestion towards that as well. So what this means is that we are going to be continuing to leverage the fact that this business was built for the modern era. Our business was founded almost exactly 3 years ago. So we are not coming in with any kind of legacy programming. Everything was built for the years of 2023 and beyond, when we've been well into the information economy. So we are not trying to retrofit any kind of programming that existed from decades past. We are not trying to fit the square peg into the round hole. We have built everything that we offer for the modern world, meaning within the last 3 years. And so we are going to be continuing this 2-lane model of getting information out there. One is what you're looking at right now, is continue our free on-demand information. Yes, there is some information that we can share with you. I call a lot of this the hidden curriculum. I've talked about that a lot before. And given that information is a commodity, in my opinion, I don't want to charge people for information, right? I want to give that information out freely. And is this information that you could get somewhere else? Probably. I did say information is a commodity, but what we're doing is getting the information organized in a way that's digestible and relevant to your situation as a faculty member in the United States who's looking for research funding, right? We're not talking about funding strategies for small businesses or for people outside of the United States. We're very focused on our target audience, which is you all. And regarding the videos and the YouTube content, we have plans to bring some guests onto the channel, other experts. So you're not just going to be listening to me running my mouth and rambling on. We're going to have other people do that too. So I'm really excited about the experts that we're going to have on to share their wisdom with you. And it's all free. It's all accessible. You're going to be able to consume this when you are driving or when you're making dinner, when it works for you, not at a scheduled time where you're expected to show up or log on somewhere. You do it when it works for you, wherever you are. If you're at an institution that doesn't have a lot of professional development support, small institution that is not well resourced, well, you can access the information that anybody else can. That's very important to me. And we are also going to continue our paid service, which is customized implementation. So when you are working with us, you are getting the best of both worlds, because we have a system that we take every single client through, and every client goes through that same system that has been optimized to get you the results you want with your funding as efficiently as possible. And when I re-recorded videos that are part of this program over the summer, I stripped out every extra little thing that I could to make everything as efficient and focused as possible. Extra little attachments and things that I had included as, oh, this is something you might want to look at as some supplementary information. For the most part, all of that is stripped out. So this is where more is better. So your time is very valuable. You get on, you watch a video with no fluff, just the stuff you need to know, no extra files, extra attachments, extra read this, look at that. You just do what you need to do with the assignment. You meet with your coach, and that's where the customization comes in. So we've got the optimized system. Layered on top of that is your own coach for you, who has all of the context on your goals, your background, where you've been successful, where you've been struggling, and everything is tailored in those meetings towards your unique situation, which is so critical for time efficiency and for just getting the results that you want. And so finally, we are covering the full arc of the funding effort, not isolated tasks. You're not coming in like, oh, we're going to work on this one specific aims page, or we're going to work on just a funding opportunity search. We cover the whole arc of all of those tasks in an integrated way with your coach, so the same person is guiding you through all of that. So really, again, we're going to have more content, high quality content. I am going to be doing fewer, if any. Well, I'm going to do one. Okay, I have one on the calendar. I keep my commitment, so I'm going to do that. I do not know if I will be doing any scheduled talks and webinars, because I'm going to be putting my effort into the YouTube content, as well as, of course, managing the business and taking care of the clients that we have. So this is just where things are going, right? It's more impactful, it's more scalable and reaching more of you all. And there's just the opportunity cost if I'm traveling and giving a live talk or even doing webinars, which sound like, oh, that's an hour. You got to prep for that specific audience, and it ends up taking a bit more of your day when I could be putting that effort into recording something and sharing it with everybody who wants to see it, wherever they may be. So my assertion is that faculty need usable guidance and not more events. And that is what I am committed to providing to you all. So now, what does this mean that you should do yourself in 2026 as a researcher? Well, it's important to stop treating this gathering information as a strategy. It's not a strategy, it's just gathering information. So this information is only going to matter if it changes the next action that you're going to take. And I think this year we can expect a lot of dynamism. Money, I expect that it will appear quickly. I expect we're going to be looking at short lead times. We're going to have shifting priorities, even getting into that real micro level of this program or that program, including some programs that will have a lot more money than they did before. And possibly, my prediction, not a pipeline of proposals coming in. And these people at the funders are going to be under pressure to spend the money. So you do need to watch the announcements. Of course, like I said, put important due dates on your calendar, read announcements that are relevant to your work. But please, please, please also make sure that you are speaking to other humans, because this is where you're going to get the actionable information that not everybody has, not because it's secret information or that it shouldn't be shared with anyone, or that someone's sharing it with you unfairly, but because, again, of the dynamic environment and the pace of things going very quickly, that it's just not possible to get all of the information out to people effectively and in a uniform type way or an official type way. So you've got to be talking to the program officers who have the boots on the ground, right, to know what is actually happening right now, this week, today, next week, with my budget, with the funds I have access to, and how could your work perhaps be part of my strategy and what I'm doing here. So we really want to think about being agile as a PI. Now, what does this mean in terms of funding? This is a corporate term, and it came from software, but what it means is that you're going to be able to respond very quickly to whatever's happening in the environment. So we've talked about these things before. You need to maintain a short list of your fundable ideas. You need to have modular proposal content components, like getting your biosketch ready and your facilities and equipment, all of these things, getting them optimized so you can assemble things quickly. These are all the components that are going to come together. Keeping your relationships going before you need them. So this is a good time to check in with people that you haven't talked to in a year or 2 years or even longer. It doesn't matter. Make sure that you're connecting with people outside of your immediate network, because it's a good thing to do. You may be able to help them too, right? We're often thinking about, okay, who can help me? But remember, you can be a source of information and a source of connection for other people too. And that's something we all want to do, right? So we do also want to get accustomed to making faster decisions with imperfect information. You're not always going to be able to have all the information that you would want to have before you make a decision to write a proposal or not write the proposal. A really good example of this from last year was the NSF career program. When people were starting to work towards that deadline, there were rumors going around that maybe the career program was no longer going to exist. And then it was like, well, it's not really its own program. And so how is it going to work itself into the other programs? And, people were talking a lot about that. And some people were saying, well, maybe I shouldn't submit a career proposal, or maybe I should, because if the program doesn't exist anymore, or the line of funding doesn't exist, then this will be my last chance. Okay, that was imperfect information, and people had to, and they did make decisions to submit or not. So that's a great example of what I anticipate we're going to be seeing more of. You're going to have to make some of these decisions without all the information you'd want. So spending your time where it moves the needle, not spending time, again, just reading more and more announcements, but like having the important conversations. Then when you do decide to write a proposal, spending the time that's required to make that a really quality draft, right? Don't submit things that are not well prepared. So sometimes it might sound like I'm not talking too much about proposal writing because I talk about a lot of the other steps of the research funding process. But when you know this is a good fit for me, someone's expecting this proposal, I've gotten some encouragement, then go in and give that your all. Give that proposal the time it needs for content revisions, for editing, and make that a very strong draft. And that is going to be something that will move the needle with a high quality proposal. So what do I recommend as your next step? Okay, just two things here. So, remember that the information isn't going to be your bottleneck in this upcoming year of 2026. What is going to be the challenge is knowing how to implement this information. And that's what we're here for from the very beginning. Wise Investigator was founded to help with implementation, again, for the modern era. So I'm only going to ask you to do one thing here, and that is subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you are subscribed and you've been enjoying these videos for some time, like a video. That helps the channel. We'd really appreciate that. You can also, when you do subscribe, or if you're subscribed, select to make sure that you see all alerts, all the new videos that come out, because we've got some really exciting new types of content for you planned. Again, not just me. And we want to make this available, of course, for free to everyone. So, we got through 2025. I hope that you had some time off and rest with loved ones over the holidays. We're heading into a new year. It's going to be dynamic. I believe that money is going to be there. I believe it's going to be a little like the Wild West. You're going to need to act quickly and be prepared, again, to act on imperfect or incomplete information. So please subscribe and continue to stay with us through 2026. We look forward to serving you, connecting with you, and really grateful for your attention. Take care.